Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Under Construction. I'm your host, Ellis, otherwise known as Train Man. This is episode 50, is it really? Is it really? Yeah, it is. Awesome. Welcome to episode 50 of Under Construction. Today we've got a few comments, which is nice. I also did some work off camera, which I'm going to show off right now. And we are here. We have to fill in this tile, but we are here relative to our ultimate goal, which is about right there. We have to do terrain on this area, and also on this side of the valley as well. Which what I might do, just to sort of make my life a little easier, I'm going to put a couple of tiles down. Let's switch to the route layer first. You'll notice the trees layer is gone because I did the thing that I always do when I have a trees layer, and I accidentally filled it with other things. So, yeah, mistakes were made. That's fine, this is fine, although I might want to add more tiles. And the other thing is I want 3 tiles at least right here. Again, we may be adding more later. But that's going to be the, okay, we're going to build terrain up until like here. Because that way we're not creating terrain up to the edge of the tile, and it makes life a little bit easier for us. And then anyway. So yeah. I did extend the river all the way, so we have a bridge here now. I did extend the river all the way up to the next bridge, which is this Warren Truss here. Which I think is a very, very cool little bridge. And I might lower the ground here or raise it so the river only goes on one side or it goes on both sides and not this weirdness. Let me just do that while I'm here, because that's a small change. No, I think it'll be better the other way. Let me raise the ground. Then give the river some more depth over here so it looks like it just swings around that. That's fine. Okay, anyway. Anyway, today I can just get cracking on the comments, because why not? Why delay this time? Shortline Productions asks, will there be any electrified portions of this route? Answer, yes, absolutely. In fact, I'm looking forward to that. I've already planned out sort of what that railroad is and what it does. That railroad is pretty good portions of the New Shoreham Tramway is going to be electrified, which, again, if you watch the intro, if you don't just skip past it, I wouldn't blame you, but if you don't just skip past it, you get a glimpse of the map every time. New Shoreham Tramway is a relatively small railroad that's confined to Gilson City and the town of New Shoreham, which is a seaport, pretty much exclusively. It's a huge industrial area. It's where most of the industry from Gilson City actually is. Gilson City is very... You know, it's got industrial sections, but Gilson City is very either suburban on the outskirts or very commercially urban on the, you know, sort of towards the city center. It's not a hugely industrial city downtown. You know, they sort of moved past that, and New Shoreham picked it up because New Shoreham has the opportunity to, and this is really how it developed. It's not like Gilson City was hugely industrial and then all the industry picked up and moved to an island. New Shoreham, or the straits between Gilson City and Meridian Isle, which is where the seaports are and where New Shoreham is, are shallow. They're shallow enough that you really can't get a train. You can't get a large ship close to the land there. And so early on in the history of the area, what happened was ships would dock at Meridian Isle, which became known as New Shoreham, and then the goods and such would be moved over to the mainland, which was where the city was thriving. Which is interesting because the city then didn't grow on the island. It did initially, but the main centers were all on the mainland. Which again is interesting because Gilson City itself is fairly isolated geographically. It's got this swamp that prevents you from getting from it to the north end of the peninsula, or from the north side of the peninsula, and it's got a pretty rocky cove that keeps you from getting at it easily from the south end of the peninsula. So it's interesting that the city really did develop on the mainland as opposed to on the island as a whole. But it may have been a space thing, or it may have been, it may have been a number of things that moved the population centers. The thing that made it easy, though, was the fact that, like I said, the water is pretty shallow. At one point, there was a shipping channel that was dug so that you didn't have to go around Meridian Isle, which proved to be kind of dangerous for some ships. And thus, bridges were built, but before then, there was a series of causeways that led from the island to the mainland. And this is, this is a distance of only like a half a mile or so. It's just this wide, shallow strait, which really changes size and really changes shape with the tides. And that's why it's so, well, it used to. Now there's breakwalls and, seawalls and breakwaters and stuff that sort of dot it and prevent it from changing all that much. The deepest sections have gotten deeper and the shallow sections have gotten shallower over time. But anyway, I digress. That is, yeah. So the electrified portion, to finally answer the question, is going to be most of the New Shoreham Tramway's lines, including a lot of the stuff in the industrial area of New Shoreham, and the industrial and some of the more railroad-heavy areas of Gilson City. They also control all of the trolley lines and interurban lines, which run in and around Gilson City. So those are electrified, but they also have a series of commuter lines, some of which are handoffs from other railroads like the VMR, which are not electrified, and they do run a handful of diesel and steam engines for these. They are in the process of moving to full electrification, but, with the rise of the automobile, there's no telling if that'll actually happen. Let's finish flattening this out. But yeah, so a lot of the terminals, the New Shoreham Tramway sort of acts as the Union Terminal style railroad for Gilson City and for New Shoreham. It's the only railroad that goes in New Shoreham. And it's part controlled by the government of New Shoreham. Because they need, they have limited space out on the island, and they don't want other railroads trying to fight for that space. So the NST is actually very heavily regulated in its freight operations. They're not allowed to, the prices are set, and employment stuff is all done, again, through almost by committee. Alright, so we need to build that mountain over there. Now that we have that flat, it looks a little bit better. But the reason I crossed the river here is just so that I didn't have to stay in this tile. Because then I would need a tile over here. And if you'll notice, we can't see the other tiles. Hold on. We can't see the other tiles from the railroad track anymore. Except for that edge right there, which I can raise this and it won't really be a problem. I just want to make sure I can't see it. It might look a little bit wonky now, but it'll be covered in trees later, so it doesn't matter all that much. Yeah, it's fine. To a point, I'm just gonna have to live with it, really. There. That should help as well. Yeah, I didn't want to fill in this tile because it would be very close to that edge. But if... Come on, let me go over there. Alright, sure. This is a little bit cagey, because we have this river here that's basically pointing at that, and that area over there is going to be a lot higher. But if you don't come up to here, you don't see it. So it's fine for now. and I don't think that'll, change, but it really does depend on your render distance, which my draw distance is only 3,000, which is pretty low, all things considered. So, I do have to be careful, and I know if I raise the draw distance, you'll be able to see it, and I don't really want that to happen. Or moreover, I really don't want that to happen. Yeah, that's also what I mean. Now, the thing is, so we've got a problem with the VMR right now, which is that the river, started down below us. It is slowly gaining on us. So the river is coming up into this relatively wide valley, and this is a 1% grade, which isn't that steep. It's steep, but it's not that steep. But the river is rapidly catching up to us. It's ascending at a higher rate than we are. We're not keeping up with it. So what we have to do is sort of let the river continue, but duck out of the way for a little bit. So the river's probably going to be flat up to here, and then it's going to continue ascending that way and this way. This is going to be shallower. And we're going to follow this for a second and then turn and, come up. We can follow it all the way to over here, because that way we still have these tiles as a buffer, and then we can cross. We could even go pretty straight, or we could sort of loop around, which would probably be the thing to do in this case, because we really need elevation. At this point, though, we are at like 90-something, and we need to get down to about 81 in the end. Yeah, we're at 93. I don't really want to get that much higher, but my question is, sort of, if we built a straight line, and this is... Let me just get my tame track. From here to the red dot. Let's see if this works. So we just made the longest singular stretch of track I think I've made since my very early 2006 years. One, and then... Alright, so that's a 1% grade. How high is this? Because I will live with that, however high this is. Although this is not that high, is it? It's 106. Yeah, that's not that high. We really need to tone down the ascent. Either that or we're going to have to start descending sooner. I mean, we might go through a tunnel. Actually, that would make sense if we go through a tunnel over here. So, we gotta, yeah. Goal for today is to figure out how to get up here. So, let me start doing that. Let's move on to a different comment. Icer, the Blue Lion. What's up, Icer? So, will this map have a military base where it'll have a rail line to it, and I'm not sure what it'll drop off? My guess is it goes to supply the base and the troops in the base. That's actually... I didn't think about a military base. So, yes, now. I definitely need one. I should put it in my ideas document. And if there was going to be a military base, which, I'm saying right now there will be, I would probably put it out in Meridian Isle. Which would make sense, because it's a defensible position, and you have control over the shipping lanes from there. So there were probably been forts there for, a couple hundred years at least. At least since the colonists came and cared about it. So, yeah. Military base right there. Now, the thing you drop off, I think ammo and stuff like that, those are definitely commodities that you can carry on these trains, and I can probably make, like, tank trains and that sort of thing. I don't think I can put tanks on a train. I'm not sure if that's a commodity, although I will look into it. Actually, knowing trains, it probably is. This is probably a tank commodity. Or at least something equivalent. There's almost definitely a Sherman commodity, because we were going to, and this is still in the ideas, we'll see if we ever do it in the future, base an episode of the Iron Horseman on the fact that Hank finds a couple of tanks on a flat car. Not sure exactly where that would go, but that was just the thought. I'm going to need to extend this land in that direction because we're running out of it. Hold on. Grab this. this way. Let's just go to the edge here and then double bank a couple of times. But yeah, no, a military base is a good idea. And again, with the new the NST being, you know, again, sort of government controlled, it would make sense that that would be the railroad that can deliver to a military base. But then that gives us other things like, okay, where are we going to make all this stuff? You know, and what's it made out of? And, you know, what can we, you know, that sort of thing. And that's, you know, that's great because I need more stuff with that. The thing that I should have done last night while I was faffing about on here was, or would have been to sort of define what all is going on with the industries down in Mason's Landing. But I'll do that in the future. Alright. Alright, so we have enough land here that I'm comfortable building some hill. Which I am going to try to be careful and not make a weird misshaped mess of this area. That would be nice. Oh, come on. There we go. Okay. Yeah, military base. You know, think about all the bits you need to make ammunition, and having those kinds of trains, oh, that'd be so cool. And again, it just gives you more commodities, and it changes up your operation, because now you have these high-priority freight trains that are, you know, these military trains, you know, that may come from elsewhere, that may come over the Gills and Eastern, or the VMR, or the ZNS, but inevitably end up being changed, you know, the trains change hands in Gills City. I don't know. It's really cool. It's a cool idea. I like it. I will do it. Like I said, I just need to mark it down in the document. I need to start thinking about what commodities do I want to use and what things do I want to bring and take out. You know, there could even be... Meridian Isle would be a great place for a space complex, too. And this is the 50s. We're big on that stuff. You know, it's not the 60s where we're actually doing anything, so I can't really build, like, a launch facility. But, I don't know, it'd be a good idea to have, like, a missile testing facility or something like that there. Because I know rocket boosters and stuff, that's a commodity. You can already do that. I think Jader had it, and Ogilly's had it on one of his routes. And we even have, like, a NASA SW something on the DLS. So, yeah, it'd be cool. Next. What types of power will be on the route and the whole map? Like, for each area or rail line, does they have their own motive of power for that line? Yes, they do. Every railroad, I've already built out this document. Every railroad has a different way of going about things. The VMR, for example, is very heavy on Mikados and medium-sized power. They are not one to invest in their physical plant, in their track and stuff like that. So they really can't deal with the heavier engines. They're not big on having Northerns and stuff like that. Although they do have some Mountains and some Berkshires. But really they don't have many. That's sort of the limit of their power. They just have a copious amount of Mikados and some Light Pacifics. And as well, they are the Alco road. So they are the road, again, sort of like the Rutland, that, you know, because they don't invest in their track and stuff like that, they went with something they could get in large quantities and they could get early, which were the Alcos. And, you know, because the Alcos were being produced and they were before, I believe they were before the early Jeeps and EMDs, and either way, you know, they didn't catch their eye as much as the Alcos did, I suppose. So the VMR is very much about that. They have a lot of RS units, and otherwise they have a lot of steam power left. They have a lot of Mikados, like I said, consolidations, anything that can really handle grades and some instances of long running without much stopping, but not at high speed. They don't need anything with high speed. They'd be crazy to buy an Atlantic or something like that, you know? On the flip side of all that is the Gilson Eastern, which loves their steam power. The Gilson Eastern is fully intent on clinging to it as long as possible, and because they have a relatively gradeless line, they can get away with even some Atlantics still, and some, you know, tons of Pacifics, as well as the Mikados and, I believe, Berkshires and I think a couple of Northerns for their trains. I should make them not have any Northerns, that'd be pretty great. Because they're supposed to be a Pensy road, Pensy-inspired road. No Northerns. I'm not sure if they have Hudsons as well. Again, it wouldn't make sense for them to do that if they were Pensy-inspired. But either way, they're supposed to be just a relatively gradeless road. So really, in that way, they're not Penn Central, but they are sort of an amalgamation of the PRR's sort of modus operandi, how they did things, and the New York Central's grade. You know, the New York Central's grades and their physical plant. Their routes. Not including the 4-track main, which of course is a strictly Pennsylvania thing, and that was done 100% on purpose. The amount of stuff you can do with a 4-track main is significant. Alright. I'm going to base height this area. So let me just build up this side a little bit more, and then I'll do that, and then I'll continue with the comment. Well, actually, no, I can continue talking about this. The fun thing with the VMR is, because the VMR's management is kind of wonky, and there's a lot of division in the higher-ups, not like such that it will bring the company down, but such that it creates some weird operational issues. For example, there is an ongoing debate as to what to actually do with the new diesel engines, quote-unquote new. They've been here for a couple of years, but they're relatively new. And the question is, you know, do we use them as the daily runners because they are, you know, less maintenance, and so it would be less maintenance and less crew hours overall? Or do we use them as the helpers because they're very easy to start and they're very good at just chugging along up a hill without too much effort? So do we use the diesels we have for that, or do we use the diesels we have for that? And this ended up resulting in a sort of weird split where the south area, the south half of, actually I don't know which is which yet, but one half of the peninsula is diesel main power and steam as helpers, and the other half of the peninsula is steam main power and diesel as helpers. And yeah, it's a little bit weird, and you sort of you change that around at Summit, and yeah, it's just, again, it's the operational difficulties. The two halves of the railroad almost act as if they are different railroads. They were built from opposite directions under different management. You know, they effectively were. They were just under the same name. And that sort of weird management has persevered the 50 or 60 years to this day. Which, you know, the VMR as well is a relatively young road. It was built through Olive in the late 1800s. Because they basically just wanted to see if they could... Oh crap, what have I done? They basically just wanted to see if they could find a way to cut across the peninsula instead of going around. You know, and then so the steam as main power service is the one buying the Berkshires and stuff like that, because they don't want to have to change their facilities and operations, like their main facilities, But either way, the whole thing, because they're not transitioned yet, means that they just sort of have to have facilities for both, which is confusing and infuriating. But here, actually, because of all this, because of everything that's going on, because of everything I've built in this area already, it sort of means that we have diesel as the main in this area, which is the north end of the peninsula, because the helper station down there is always and almost only situated, set up to have steam. That said, though, the management would like everything to be cut and dry, where it's just this half this way and this half this way, but there's definitely a mix, and it definitely, definitely is not cut and dry in the least. But I do have a diesel in that helper station right now, so maybe I don't know. I haven't figured that out yet. There's plenty to figure out between now and then, but yeah. The Zion and Skyline, to move on. Oh, well, no, I didn't finish talking about the Gilson Eastern. So, Gilson Eastern is the steam road, it's the high-speed passenger road, it's all, Pacifics and stuff like that. They definitely have some Mikados and other things for freight service, because of which they provide plenty, but they are definitely the heavy steam power, not literally heavy, but as in they're big on steam power, and they, they're big on steam power, and they are all about speed. Now that said, we are transitioning, so they have a bunch of ball winds, which I don't think I can really create, because I need permission from the guy who made Dan to put that on the DLS and everything. Although we do have centipedes on the DLS, so that might be good enough. Baldwins, but just like the Pensy in real life, they have a little bit of everything. They have some EMD power as well. I don't think they have any Alcos, but they may. I may add that later. But yeah, that's that. They are all about that, and they do not want to give up steam power anytime soon, and they're pretty hell-bent on keeping it. And so their facilities are almost only tailored for steam locomotives, and the diesels just sort of float around and do whatever. The diesels they've got almost only to run some of their passenger trains, because their big steam power was kind of out of date, as you might expect from a railroad emulating the Pensy. They've just got a lot of Pacifics. Okay, then the ZNS. The ZNS is modeled after the N&W. So the ZNS is big on Malays and really big steam, but doesn't use a lot of steam locomotives otherwise. They are a largely diesel road. They've got a lot of Jeeps and stuff like that. But for their big trains, they still use big steam, because whatever reason, they probably bought them recently and it's an investment, or, some such thing, They have a reason to keep the big steam around, and they will keep the big steam around for as long as it's feasible. And then maybe they'll save some of it. That's the other thing. As far as everything goes, if we look at the future of these railroads, modeling the Pennsylvania, the Gilson Eastern will probably have its own museum, like a Northumberland style, where they're keeping one of every class that's very significant to them. And the VMR, or no, the Zion and Skyline is probably going to keep some of its big power, because they're quite happy with it, they're quite impressed with it. And, they're some of the largest steam locomotives ever built, so why wouldn't you want to show that off? The VMR, on the other hand, because of the division management, you might see some stuff saved, but it's entirely likely that you will not really see any steam saved from the VMR, except for something that was left in the woods or whatever. In fact, I could even write that the last steam locomotive, or the only steam locomotive from the VMR that would end up being saved would be the Mogul question mark that they left in Gilson City. When the part of the dam line, or the I don't know what to call it, the Gilson line that got built ended up being shut down at that end, and then subsequently reactivated, like I talked about in a past episode. The one thing that all these railroads have in common, though, is the 080, because it's a USRA standard design, and because it's just a useful and powerful switcher. Everyone has a couple 080s at least. Everyone has a little bit of steam on their roster. Including the NST, including the New Shoreham Tramway, which, like I said, has commuter engines, but that's basically it. They don't have any big steam, or even really medium steam. They just do what they do. Which is mostly electrics. But yeah, each railroad is sort of tailored to be modeled after a specific real-life railroad, or a couple of real-life railroads molded together. For example, the Rutland and the DNRGW for the VMR. I don't really have a second railroad to model for the ZNS, but for the PRR, or for the Gilson Eastern, it's a lot of PRR and a little bit of Central sprinkled in because of those high-speed locomotives. If I was going full Pennsy, I would have designed their roster a little bit differently, I think. But what else? Yeah, the New Shoreham has all sorts of electric locomotives, box cabs, steeple cabs, that sort of thing, as well as trolleys, like PCCs and stuff like that. So they have a huge spread of the electric engines that they're using, all the way up to things as big as like an EF4, which is a little Joe. But they're the only railroad that actually uses electrified stuff really at all. I think the Gilson Eastern might have a couple of electrified engines, because they run under the wires in Gilson City. But they're really the only railroad that would bother. And plus, because they go out the other side, they wouldn't want to divide it, sort of like New York City, where you pull the steam engine off the train, and then you stick on an electric engine to bring it into the station. That is not at all practical for them, because at the other side you need to take the electric engine off and continue. If I wanted to, I could mix some New Haven in there and say that, the railroad past this point is electrified, but I don't feel like doing that much more electrification. I know Gilson City is already going to be a complete mess. It's going to be something else. Any narrow gauge on this map build or dual gauge, or will it all be standard gauge? It'll all be standard gauge. I used to do maps with all different gauges, like I'm sure some of you remember the TV and ARR. That had, quote-unquote all three gauges on it. It had 3-foot, 2-foot, and standard gauge. But when I was designing this, I was like, I want to be able to take a train from any part of the map to any other part of the map. Gauges be damned. I added a little bit of 2-foot gauge over by on the Olive Branch, but that's for show. It's not functional, and it's even abandoned. So if I have narrow gauge, it will probably be an automated mine thing, where it's going to be taking stuff out of the mines and bringing it to a breaker, something like that. So yeah, I do not really plan to have major narrow gauge. I don't plan to have major narrow gauge. But again, it might exist in a very small capacity somewhere, but not something that's going to be drivable unless you're content just driving back and forth. A mission of narrow gauge really helped me do a couple of things, which was, sort of think about, okay, let me model all these railroads after real railroads. It gives me more of a base of locomotives to pull from, because as for narrow gauge, you have pretty much the Grand, and that's kind of it. And if you're doing 2-foot gauge, you pretty much have European stuff and the Sandy River and Rangeley Lakes. And that's kind of it. And so, as much as I love narrow gauge is very limiting. And I've talked about the limitations and when to use narrow gauge and when not to, just based on another one of Icer's comments. You know, I don't think anyone should hold back from using narrow gauge if they want to. But I think that for me on this map, it was just important to have everything able to mesh together. And there are still going to be some instances where you're not going to be able to take a train from one area to another, probably because of power problems, you know, like being under wires versus not, or third rail for the elevateds in Gilson City, some of which are going to be over the old VMR's Gilson City branch, which the part that's actually within city limits, not the part that's outside, which is going to remain under VMR and is eventually going to be used. And probably at some point in the not-so-distant future when the VMR is, you know, holding its breath, just thrown off into its own short line, you know, sold lock, stock, and barrel to somebody who can run it independently. Which is why a VMR engine gets saved. And the VMR is not malicious in their destruction of engines. They were doing it, you know, purely out of the fact that the railroad had absolutely no money and needed to get rid of its debts somehow, and so the locomotives were really the only way to do that. And of course, it's, you know, as you're reaching the end of the transition era, if you're broke, you're really not going to have too many opportunities to sell them as locomotives. So the engines just all became scrap. But the one on the line, the one of the Gilson City line, was lucky enough to be spared and was lucky enough to have somebody who cared about steam as the guy who purchased that line. And, you know, similar to the Strasbourg Railroad, it just persevered and eventually became a tourist operation. How does that look? Pretty good. Sweet. We've got a mountain over there now. We've got this area, which is sort of a cliffy looking thing. Cliffhanger. Hanging from a cliff. Ooh, I don't want to be able to see the end of this, though. That's fine. As long as I can't see that from here, it's fine. Alright. Also, if I ever get to be part of the IHR, I enjoy doing any sort of switching work or anything down by the docks. I think operating an 080 would help Salient out a lot. Less stress and less of an workload on him, too. Also, will we see more of Nick and Morgan? Yes, we will see more of Nick and Morgan. I have a script about them that's pretty great right now. It's... crap, what is it called? Trapped at the Well. It's a really fun episode with the two of them, and Palmer, and, who else plays a heavy role in that? Ivan actually has a role in that. That is one of the scripts. I've tried to write scripts more lately, you know, just on my way to work and whatnot, and I've not really had a great time. I had some instances where I was like, I felt like I had something decent, and then it turned out to be not so great. So I need to go back and revise that one again, although I've had some good ideas. You know, I feel like I'm spinning my wheels with these scripts a lot, but really, there's nowhere for me to go. I can write them and write them and write them. But that's really all I can do. And I want them to, you know, if something's a little off in one, if it's not great, I want it to be good. You know, I want it to be better. So I'm going to invest more time into it. You know, I'm totally okay with redoing a script if that means having a better end product. which is something that all writers should, you know, think about and do. Your first draft is probably never going to be your best draft. So, you know, always revise. Okay, so we've got this going on over here. We have this bit which is like a narrow sort of area where the canyon tightens up. I think I'm going to see if I can see what I can do with this, because this is our new base height just based on where the river is. I don't want it to look that bad, but it's going to. I'll have to smooth the edges again. Yeah. See, I don't intend to change the status quo at the docks very soon, although this upcoming season, I guess, in Season 3, some pretty significant stuff happens involving Stallion and the docks. But I don't intend to change the status quo at the docks. You know, Stallion sort of being grousy and unhappy and being the guy who runs the docks is a pretty good state. Like, I don't think he would be really good anywhere else at this point. I'm not sure what he would even do. You know, if you go back and watch the, I think Zombie Train Locomotive Versus it may have even been, one of the early ones, or the first one, where I used Blount sort of as a control, and Jader used 4501. We learned that 4501 is not a very strong locomotive. In fact, being such an early Mikado, he's kind of weak. And, you know, because of that, I don't think he'd be a really good fit anywhere else unless he's just, you know, shoving cars around. Yes, he was the most powerful locomotive that the Iron Horseman Railroad had when he arrived, but that's because all they had was a consolidation and a 10-wheeler before him. And so, you know, we're sort of left with this, well, what do we do with Stallion if he's not going to be down by the docks? Does he really have a good use? And plus, looking forward, like, I know how certain characters will meet their end, and I know how certain characters will persevere. And looking at what we have planned for Stallion into the, you know, the distant future, he's going to be down at the docks. He's a dock man. He would not be happy anywhere else. But yeah, no, somebody to help Stallion, I guess, could be useful. I'm not sure what I would necessarily do with that character, aside from just having somebody that Stallion either gets along with or doesn't. Which could be a fun arc. But there are, you know, we have quite a few characters. I'm not sure when we're going to add more. I know we will be. Well, some characters are going to go out, some characters are going to go in over the life of the series. Including an RDC at some point, and a locomotive from the Great Northern, which is going to be a diesel, I believe. Yeah, it's going to be a diesel. Because it's, you know, this is moving into the future where we're going to have fewer steamers and more diesels. You know, as the Horseman Railroad transitions. The reason that the series goes for as long as it does is it chronicles the full transition of the Iron Horseman. So, in 1953, most of the diesels we have are very new. You know, hence Nick being around for 3 months, Cole being brand new, Morgan being brought on from the Milwaukee Road, Sam having been around for a couple of years, but that's kind of it. And sorry. And as time goes on, we will see, oh yeah, and Dan being relatively recent too. I was thinking, I'm missing an engine. I'm missing a diesel. But Dan is probably the one that's been there the longest, if not Sam. I don't really remember. I need to go back and check my documents. We do have most of this stuff written down too, just to keep track of it, because there's a lot going on. But all the way through to 1962. which is the date of last steam operations on the Iron Horseman. And that marks the end of the main series. So, yeah, that's that. We did it on purpose to try to cover all of the Horseman Railroad through a transition, to try to capture. It's not a series that's overtly about the transition era, but we're capturing a railroad during its transition in this universe that we've created. It's not a real railroad. Locomotives don't talk. They aren't citizens and blah 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 in real life. In the Horseman universe, things are quite different for them. But we are capturing a railroad in this universe at, peak interesting, I think. Because the transition era is always interesting. Just the way different railroads handled it. And that's why I'm building this in that era. Because we have steamers and we have diesels. And we have different railroads trying to deal with that in different ways. The Zion and Skyline pretty much going, oh sweet, we can make, we can do better with these diesels on most of our smaller stuff. The Gilson Eastern going, I don't know about this. And the VMR arguing with itself over how they are too best to be used. And the New Shoreham Tramway having no idea what's going on because they're an electric railroad, primarily. The New Shoreham Tramway not wanting to build new facilities to accommodate diesels is basically what it comes down to. But yeah, having somebody down there, and it's funny you say that, because way back when we were tossing around new character ideas, I thought one of the best, most feasible new characters to have in terms of just locomotive would be an 080. Because picking one up from the New Haven or the New York Central, especially the New Haven, because New Haven was getting rid of all of its steam at this point in time, would be relatively easy and make sense, and be a good switcher, because we don't have a lot of switchers in the Horseman. So, I have thought about that. I don't think we're going to be adding that character, but, if we put out that casting call, ICER, you'd best respond to it, because, that would be great for you. Though that said, I don't think we would put him down the docks necessarily. We might move him to either Douglas or Troy to help Sam. But Sam is going to be there for a while, although we could have him be and I'm thinking just, how to make this character useful. We could have it be a character that doesn't really find its position, and if the real goal is to work with Stallion, we could have it be so that you have a locomotive that, this 080, that they put in Douglas and he doesn't fit in and he's yelled at and, it doesn't do well or whatever. And then they move him to Troy so that Sam can whip him into shape, and Sam ends up being, at a loss. Just because the engine is not a troublemaker, it's just not, you just can't do it. Maybe for whatever reason, maybe, it has some sort of, I don't know what to call it. Locomotive version of a learning disability. Like a locomotive ADHD, where it can't, grasp focusing on certain tasks, and so when it's that big, when you have to assemble these big trains all the time, it just gets overwhelmed and can't do it. And then it ends up just getting yelled at, and this, it's a miracle it survived on the New Haven, or maybe it was the change of pace that was what really shook it up. I'm really wondering what I'm doing here, because this river valley is facing the wrong way and I need to get it over here. So I just need to start building up this. Coming to a dank river valley near you. And then, after being sent down to Stallion with his, southern wisdom and sort of lighthearted, light-handed, whatever, sort of his patience that not really anybody else has, because think about it, you've got Sam in one yard, which is already not great, but in the other yard you have Big Joe being your yard master, and that's a problem if you are not good at something. If you are not good at something, you will know about it. And you will know about it every day, and you will know about it very loudly, and by consequence, everybody else will know about it. So, you know, I can see Jerry scratching his head like, we got this engine, we don't know, like, what we're doing with it. Oh, there's another character that's coming in. There's a character that we've already planned to come in, and that's already written into scripts, and it's two, actually. It's a locomotive, and I hesitate to call him our engineer, but he is, sort of. You know, and I don't want to spoil anything directly. Like, I will mention these things, like, I will say these things, but I'm not going to say who it is or what it is. You know, if you want to know, if you really want to know, I'm not, you know, as long as you won't go blab about it and spoil it for people who don't want to know, I will gladly talk about it if you hit me up, but, you know, it's not the kind of thing where I'm going to necessarily talk about it directly on air, in specifics. You know, I could always have a spoiler cast where we talk about the future of the series, but that's sort of what the Sunday show would be. I just haven't had any time. I literally haven't had a Sunday free to work on the Horseman. I haven't. And I was like, oh, Sunday, it'll be an easy day. I don't do anything on Sundays. I've done everything on Sundays. All sorts of events as soon as I got back from school. It's nuts. Anyway. Yeah, we will see more of Nick and Morgan. So you could put a deer stand in the woods or on the edge of a field that used to be for crops, a cabin in the woods too. Cabins are a great idea. I think I have a couple of those. Do I have a deer stand? I just have some deer. I don't think I have a deer stand. If there, I will check later if there are deer stands on the DLS, or I'll try to remember to check later. But that's a pretty good idea, I must say. Deer stand. Kind of forgot they existed. Alright, so we've got this area where the river's catching up to us. Got some Z fighting on these. I like this bridge. I do like this bridge. But yeah, we've got to continue up this way. So we have terrain to like here. We're almost there. We're so close. Also, I came in here, I named... Oh yeah, you were here for that, right? Yeah, everybody was here for that. Anyway. Is Sam in RS3 too, by the way? I know in RS3 I'm going to have 2 smokestacks. Yeah, she's just in RS3. Just a regular old RS3. So, yeah, there's that. And I'm trying to build this up a little bit, Buttercup. And I need to flatten this, or I need to plateau this so it's a little bit more even, because right now it doesn't look great. Alright, and there, and there. Alright, alright. See if we can do this. I just want to make this look better. This wide valley now. Okay. I don't know. I'm a brain. Brain. Anyway, move on to the next comment. Evan Games. Okay. BTW, I'm no longer Bonnie Gaming. Alright, so Bonnie Gaming is now Evan Games. Cool. He says, 1, can you work on Mason's Landing? Yes, I can. Let's go over there. I'll leave this for another day. There's plenty of things to do here. Also, I added signals. That was the other thing that I did. Here and here as well. And they're all on these signal bridges. These are CNNW signal bridges for those who wanted to know. I'm not sure anybody wanted to know. Nobody asked, but I'm just figuring I'd say it. Okay, so let's go over to Mason's Landing. Mason's Landing is all the way down here. Alright, so we've got Mason's Landing. Yeah, so first things first, I'm probably going to want to do some texturing. Because this area is not going to be copy-pasty. It's just going to be, like... It's going to be done almost completely by hand. So, let me start texturing, and then let me get to any real questions. Where is the VMR's main yard going to be? Okay. So, the thing with the VMR is... It has a large yard in Jefferson, which is to the north of Olive, so it's off map. So technically, its largest yard that we would actually have access to right now is in staging. But the VMR will have a large yard in the town of Wombeck, which I may change the name of because I use that name a whole lot. Which is at the total south end of the peninsula if you check the map. The VMR's main yard, though, like where the stuff really happens, is up at Summit. And it's a small yard for being a main yard, and the reason that it's small is because it is sort of wedged up in the mountains. It doesn't really have a lot of room to breathe or work, but the VMR uses it because it's the connection point between their main line and their secondary main, or their primary branch, which is the one that runs up to Skyline. Or down to it, depending on how I want to build that. I'm still not sure if it'll be up or down, but I think it might be up. Which, you know, would make Summit kind of a misnomer, but that's okay. That happens. It's not the same line, so it doesn't really matter. What did I do over here? So I just had this go to that. I was going to build a mill building over here and have a siding go to it. I still might. You know, the one mill building that we actually have in here. Let's see if I can find one. Maybe like a Frank's, because those always look good. No. I have a pick list for this. No, not that. That's too big. Milling company. This looks too new. Lumberyard might not be a bad idea. Alright, hold on. Where's the old Frank's factory? I know, like, I've seen it 1,000 times. Whoa, no. I just took a blind guess at what it would be. Alright, these don't look good. Oh, Factory 1, 1942. Nope, Factory 1. Really? I thought it was that, 1942. Sherman factory. Interesting. Here it is, Frank's. And what I think I'll do is I'll build a freight platform here. So I've wanted to have this building here for ages and ages. I just have it be plenty awkward with its placement. Alright, which one got bent out of whack because of that? None of them, actually. Probably because this one is the one that got unstraightened, so the switch is weird. Yeah, there we go. Fixed. Oh, you know what? Move the gradient of that. Alright, so this is awkward, but that's kind of the point. And then here, nope. And I kind of wanted to have a second siding in here, but I'm not sure if we could do that with just turn radii being a problem. This is already a kind of tight switch. It's not that bad, but it's kind of tight. Here, let me just do this. Why is this like, why are you like this? Is it too tight? Why are you doing this? There we go. Oh, that's why, because there's a little bump there. Okay, so now I have a couple of industrial sidings over here, which is good because I wanted to have them. I did in fact want these sidings from originally when I sort of figured about having this be here. I was like, oh, there's not going to be a lot of industry here, but I did think about, oh, but what if I threw a factory back here? And it's going to be a producer industry because it's going to be a producer industry, like. I'm not sure what I'm going to have it produce, though. 1896. That's funny. That's the same year that the VMR built its main line. Or came through all of it, at least. So we have to fill that area in. What was the question? Main yard. That's right. I was talking about that. Let me just check my time. It's 1:02. All right. Not in like the afternoon, like in the video. So VMR, yeah, that's gonna be their major yard. It's gonna be where all their traffic flows through. Really. Not really. It is where all the traffic flows through, except trains that are going like a turn from Jefferson, but that really wouldn't happen. For the most part, if a train is on the VMR, it's going all the way from one side of the peninsula to the other, or it's terminating in Summit, or it's going or coming from Skyline. Because they don't have a connection off of Skyline like the Zion and Skyline does. Let me do. No, you know what I need? I need some sort of gravel like this. Maybe not exactly this. This is better. Gravel lot. Go. I'm just going to paint this area with this gravel color, because then you can have mail trucks that come in behind the building to get loaded. Oh, it's paints. Huh. I wonder what. Paints. Interesting. Can you make paints out of shellfish? Is that a thing you can do? I think that's something you can do. You can make paints out of shellfish. So, yeah, that makes sense then, that why this factory would be here. I'm trying to think about what how I'm gonna, like, put the bottom of this lot, though. This says concrete, it does not look like it. Yeah, no, it has to be spun. It does not look a whole lot like concrete. Why are you not painting? There we go. I kinda wish I could have the foundation of another building over here. So I need to get another freight platform. No. No, I just... Alright, we're going back to Olive to grab one. Over here. So I want... Oh, that's a big playground, damn. Come on, show me the thingy. Show me the platform, not that. Where's the wooden platform? Did I keep it over here? Maybe over here? I think next to this. Right? It was right here. Come on. No, I didn't. No, it hasn't loaded everything. Things are still loading, so I just haven't seen it yet. Yeah, there it is. T-side platform freight. Specifically in that order. Alright, so... What did I call that? The Mouse River. Come on now. There we go. Okay, so we got that. I will work on that area a little bit more later. Okay, 108. Next bit. Is there going to be any freight stuff Adams? No. I've gone back and forth about it. I do not think I'm going to bother with Adams having freight stuff. Chris pointed out to me, as he does, that what I should probably do is have the stuff in Adams. Have there be a couple of things down, like... God damn it, I'm forgetting how to words right now. Have there be a couple of things that are down, like, down at the bottom of the hill, like maybe a disused track, which I don't think I'm going to have to put a disused track down there, but definitely like a little shed, like a speeder shed or something for a track crew. That I will probably do. That is something that can be done. So yeah. So there's that. I cannot do dig holes here, so what I think I'm going to do is I'm just going to make this black under here if I can. Pitch black. Or this. Black. This looks fine. This looks better. Because it's not like black. It's just kind of like a dirty black. It is quite black, but it's not pitch black, which, no. I'm fine with. Doesn't really matter either way. I don't really care about these, the maintenance trenches or whatever you call them. So, yeah. Now we gotta continue doing this. There. Continue filling this in. We've got our standpipes there. We've got our one engine that we keep on the map, or one of three. There. What is rumbling? Oh, it's coming from inside this building. Okay. That's kind of what I thought. Yeah. The thing that Chris pointed out to me is that you would periodically have these track crews, like at spaces down the line. Let me. Oh, okay. Let me do this. God damn it. Why doesn't the search work like it does in the paints thing? Seriously. In all of them. Oh god. What have I done? I forgot this house was super wonky. Where'd it go? It's over there. There. A little bit closer to the road. Alright. I'm thinking of something. Get rid of that. Give me all my textures back. But I do want... I just want some grass right now. Sorry. Oh, and I've run out of water. I am doomed. That matches the house. That almost kind of matches the house, too. What's that? There's some nice grass. Feels a little lumpy, but it's nice grass. I think I will take it. No, it wouldn't be like that. It would be... I don't know. I like it, but I feel like it's too unkempt for such a nice house. Let's just do the seasonal grass. How about that? No, it's not good enough. This family has this large triangular plot of land. Uh-oh. Where'd the music go? Music has stopped. Oh, it's back. Which we're gonna have to sort of make interesting because this just flat, grassy area isn't good enough. You know what? We could have a carriage house. This house deserves that. Let's do that. No, not like that. Okay, we can't have a carriage house because reasons. But... how about less stable? Okay, that's kind of what I wanted. Coach house. But it's stone. And it also has a clock on it for some reason. Here's what I'll do. If I... oh, it's going to fly away again. No. Come this way. I could cordon off the rest of this area. I have a couple of horses. The thing that I really want to do, though, is I want to have sort of a weirdish color. Like a different colored grass underneath the driveway. Which would then go, like, in a fairly straight line this way. And this is not the color that I really want, but it's indicative of what I want to do. Which is, this house was once at an intersection, and now it is not. So I'm not really 100% certain on how to represent that. But after doing some research on related things lately, it's gotten me sort of like, I want to do the, road that used to go this way thing. And now it goes around that way so that I can have an intersection over here instead of over here. That way only one leg of the intersection crosses the tracks. I feel like this road needs a couple more houses. This town is very spread out. Stack of sacks. Sack of stacks. We've got all these stations. Station clock. I'm just clicking at stuff at random now. What is this? That looks really cool. Do we have a town hall here? I'm not sure we do. It would be over there, wouldn't it? I mean, honestly, it should be facing the water. Let's see. We've got all of these storefronts, which are nice, but I want a couple more houses. What is this? How do I have these? What are these? And I can't, like, change these? It's just a bunch of road signs? What? Okay. But I could name the streets if I wanted to. Interesting. Strasbourg engine sheds. Okay. Scroll past all the street signs. This one, maybe, for being out on... What road was it? This one. These guys probably have some land. Everyone in this area really has some land. Except for this guy, maybe. I don't really care about these shops right now. Summer house, what? I don't even know what I was looking at. Oh, wait. This is what we need up at Adams. Switchman's Shanty. And it should be somewhere. Either over here. And that would be the door for the speeder, I guess, or something. Although it looks narrow. How about speeder? Speeder shed 20. Actually, no, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to leave that flag stop as is. I'm going to take this and put it up here. On an open stretch of this, which I guess it'd be right over here. There we go. Okay, so we now have a little shack out here, which is fine. Can we change that number? No. Oh well. I don't have a name for that siding. Oh well. Alright, so let's continue on down here because we were getting some stuff done. Is the next block going to have Gilson City in it? No. The next block after this I build is either going to be down the coast to Bellington, which is another 15 miles, so it's the same distance from here to here as it is from here to Bellington. Or it's going to be from here to... I'm not sure, but I don't think it's going to be Summit, because that's a long ways away. It's going to be here to whatever the next thing is along the VMR. Also, I only put 2 tiles down. I thought I put down 3. There we go. Anyway, yeah. It's not going to have Gilson City in it. Gilson City is, if we made a beeline for Gilson City, it might be another, let's see, here to Bellington to the intermediate stop, and then, so like 3 or 4 blocks away. You know, blocks is in a section of work that I decided to do. So, yeah, it's not immediate. We won't be seeing it for a while. And to answer the final bit of your question, that is the part that I am least excited to do. Or more accurately, I am least excited to do the electrical overhead wires for the new Shoreham Tramway all over Gilson City. That is going to be something else. Let me tell you, it is going to be a lot to do. I'm not really looking forward to it. I am, you know, I'm like kind of excited to do it because it's going to be a lot, and I haven't really done that before, and I'm going to see exactly how specific I can get with it. But overall, like, oh crap. Let's not fiddle with that right now. Something broke with that earlier, which is why I updated the map number to 0.15. Let's see. Along this side, what am I going to do? Grass? Nice grass? And trees, probably? I liked that grass that I used a minute ago. like the sort of bushy grass that I was using, but I don't remember what it was. Let's figure out what this is. This looks too dark. Yeah, it's way too dark. That doesn't have any detail at all. This is the one I use in the forest. Come on, a little lower, all the way down, I guess. Sure, why not? Like, I'm looking forward to Gilson City. It's going to be enormous. It's going to be the biggest city I've ever built, and hopefully the biggest city I've ever seen in trains. And it's going to have all sorts of details, I hope. Hopefully it doesn't turn out to be kind of, like, repetitive looking. It's probably going to be kind of repetitive to build, but hopefully it doesn't turn out repetitive looking. And yeah, I am quite looking forward to the actual construction of it. But I'm not looking forward to doing all those power lines, all those catenaries. That is going to be a lot of work. It's going to be very annoying, sort of minutia work, not like, not like, even, the suburban blocks of Olive, where it was, well, let's see what sort of little thing we can do in here. There are a very rigid set of things that have to be followed, and we're probably going to be thwarted by the catenaries on multiple occasions while trying to do something cool. So, yeah, it's going to be a bastard, definitely. I'm not looking forward to it, but it is something that's going to have to be done, and it's going to improve the map. It's going to make the map look that much better, and it's going to make the map that much more realistic. As a side note, I bought the electric engine off of K&L Trains because this week the deal of the week is all of the PRR museum stuff and the Strasbourg museum stuff is on sale. So I went in there and I bought all the Pensy stuff I didn't have except for the... What don't I have now? The J one, because that one didn't survive and it isn't in the museum. So if we go through, I now have, although I had all that, so this is all my PRR stuff now. From the H9, which is just gross as hell. But it's on the DLS, and the textures can be redone, and I might have it reskinned. But I have the B1s, which these are the electric engines. I can't use them here, unfortunately, but whatever. I have all the N5s, I have D16, I have Penny. Hi, Penny. I have the E6 now, which is relatively... It's new-ish. It's not that old. No, it's not new-ish. It is... the word is just, it's not that old. Like, it's pretty old. You'll notice it's not auto-numbering. I now have 7002 as well. Or, well, that whole class. Flat car stuff I already have. The G5 I have now. This is the relatively new one. That's right. I bought the I1 a while ago. Love this engine. All the K4s, I have all the K4s, I already had them. The L1 I have now, I haven't played with this at all. This is an older model too. The M1B I have now. With the long range tender, not the coast to coast. And oh, what else do I have? Is it down here? No, that's it. So, oh, then I have the Seashore Lines tender. But that's my standards. That's what I went and bought the other day. Because I could. This grass does not look half bad. Actually, the way it is, it looks pretty good. So I think I'm gonna keep it. I think I'm gonna keep it like that, and I might put some splines on top of it. But for now, wow, that actually looks way better than I expected. Half of me is tempted to make this rails-only track or sink it to the ground a little bit more. But then this would be concrete or whatever. Well, actually, if I sink it, it might not be bad. So let's like 89. How about 85? How about just 80? Okay, you don't like that. 79? Yeah, like that. That's better. If you don't have the full ballast, it looks more industrial, looks a little bit more run down. Post office has got texture now. We have this one tree here, which I love this image of, like, looking this way with the boxcar and the tree and the truck. Just this whole little, this is like a little diorama. That's what you gotta live for in trains. Turn every area into a diorama. Sorry. Oh. Alright, so I kind of want to brush away a lot of the dirt because it's encroaching a little bit into the grass, but I don't know if that's better. No, it's definitely not better. I'll just leave the dirt as is. The dirt looks good enough. Okay, there we go. Okay, so gonna continue doing what I was doing, which is to do this first. I don't really want to get it too much under the road, but I don't think it matters all that much because it's just the road. And it's okay if I get a little bit on top of the ballast, because we're going to be painting over that. So down this way, back this way. Alright, just as careful as it comes. Okay. So the reason I'm doing mostly texturing, because this is like the last big thing we really have to do here. Because I don't think it's going to be all that forested. And I don't really want it to be, although I can definitely do some of the trees myself. This would be an area with, you know, these sparse houses, and the area between is maybe divided up by a lot of hedges and some trees and just sort of fields, open areas. There are going to be stands of trees, but and then grab this. Nope, this. Alright. Alright, we're going. We're doing it. We're going. We're getting this area worked on. This area does need a lot of work. It's the second largest town on the map currently. It's going to be not the second largest town on the map after I get to Bellington, probably. I don't expect Bellington to be very large, but while this is spread out, that's probably going to be a cluster of buildings that are all sort of together. Nope. Fence. Alright. Let me just... There. You know what? I could actually just make this a dirt road. I think I'll do that. And by dirt, I mean physically dirt texture. Orange dirt. How about that? Nah, it's too orange. Who could have seen that coming? Nah, Oz dirt. How about this? This is not bad. I like this. Nobody's going to be driving down this road, but, you know, might as well have it. It's just more of a trail at this point. Let's see if I can get precise enough to do a railroad crossing with just terrain. Oh, that's actually not half bad. Come on. It's not very responsive. That is pretty damn good, I will say. I like how that came out. Now I want some gravel over here. How about I just saw some ballast? What I don't want... What don't I want? We're gonna go back to this. We're gonna finish making this fence. No escape, obviously, because we don't have a gate. But that's fine. I think I'm gonna right angle this. I'm just gonna drop this directly to the side of the tracks. Put that there. So now we have this area. And I will continue this fence from here to the road. Not that it really matters. Continuing it for the sake of having a fence along the railroad track. We have a much chunkier area that has texture now. I like it. It's good. And he said that it was good. We're gonna have to have employee parking in here. So let's go grab this again. Maybe a different one. Yeah, this doesn't look half bad. And it'd probably be interspersed with dirt. Like, we have this gravelly area, but there'd also definitely be some dirt involved. So let us put gravel around the edge of the building here. Because there's probably some people walking down that way. And then dirt just directly under it. And we'll probably have some, like, weeds and stuff sprouting. And then outside of the dirt, we'll definitely have grass. Do it in phases. Wait, that's too much dirt. Or too much, yeah, too much dirt. Not enough gravel. No real entrance. And then more of a, like a dirt path this way. Because this would be within railroad property. And let me grab my actual grass, my natural grass for this. Although I had like dirtier grass at one point that I was using over in Olive. Let me see if I can go grab that. Let me see what we were doing in the Olive industrial area, because we did a pretty good job of making it like dirty. Yeah, it was this. What is this? Nasa. Don't know what that means, but that's what we were using. So we'll continue to use it because it looks good. What is that? Oh, that's the engine house. This should be in areas where we don't have a lot of grass growth and we don't have a lot of traffic. You know, like right under there. But we'll see how much space the grass actually takes up. Alright. Over here, and then we have that. And then maybe a little bit of gravel over here by the turntable. And thus dirt around it. The thing that I want here is some sort of maintenance shed. No. Oh, I'm in splines. No, I don't want an engine shed. I just want like a shed. Big shed. I think it's this. British. That's what it is. It's British. I don't want that. This is cool though. That's nice. Building shed small. With some graffiti on it. Nah. I don't want like a carriage shed. I just want like a little dirt garden shed. Now, how about, what did we have? We had I just saw something that actually was not bad. Concrete shed. It's made out of cinder blocks. That's good enough. And then we're gonna have to fill in all this area with, yeah, I should have used that for over here, but it doesn't really matter. We're already holding the texture we need. I don't know why I activated that. Is it like, you know when you like take a painting off the wall and the paint under there, or you know, a picture or whatever, take something off the wall and the stuff behind it is like pristine, the paint behind it is really nice compared to the paint all around it, which is usually faded or whatever. That's sort of the equivalent of, you know, the train's equivalent of that is when you don't paint under a building and then later you're doing like a remodel of that area on the route and you move the building and there's no texture under there. Or you see that from the map. It's like, what is this spot that I missed? I missed the texture on this spot. But you didn't miss that spot, you just didn't paint it because it was underneath something. That's the other thing. I didn't add any of the black like area because like that we had in Olive, because this area is not that industrial. Maybe by the seaside I'll do it. I'm thinking if I have the cove over there. What did I call this place? Olaf's Beach. Yeah, I could have like streaks in the sand of like, you know, rust colored streaks in the sand. That, like that spot right there is what I'm talking about. Uh, yeah, it's like, what do I fill in this space? I need to look at more areas that don't actually have forests, but I guess it'd just be grass. Like, I don't know why I'm deliberating so much. I just need to cover it with grass. And then a handful of trees, you know, a tree here and there. It's not rocket surgery. I can do that. I'm gonna go back to olive. Oh wait, I can do this to get back instead of doing what I was doing. That's why I made that. We have, you know, 10 bookmarks and we have 9 towns on the map, so that's good, you know. We're all set. Let's see, what was I using? I was using this texture. I was also using this spline, which I think I've already used that quite a bit over here, so I don't really know why I needed to go back for it. I mean, I've used it out on the VMR. I've used it in the process of getting over here, but I haven't used it here. Also, Evan Games. Evan, if you like me doing this, if you're content with what I'm doing right now, feel free to comment again, you know, and say, hey, work on this again, because I will. You know, this is all the motivation I need. I just need somebody to tell me to go work on it, because that's all I'm waiting for, you know. I can work on anything. I can work on anything anytime. I can even, there was even a spot in Olive that I went back to, and I was like, oh, no, this needs work. But I didn't, because I was tired last night after, you know, I did do some work. But I wasn't into doing, like, major remodel work, especially not in the middle of suburbia. So I decided, no, whatever, I'll do it another time. But if somebody were to be toying around with the route and notice that, and we're like, hey, can you go fix this? I would be all over it. Even though it's backtracking. Even though it's doing an area that we already did, if it wasn't done right or it wasn't done well enough, then I have an obligation to go and fix it. Because that's what you do when you're building a route. Just like with writing, your first draft is not always going to be your best one. And I said with writing it never is, but that's probably true. And in trains it's probably true as well, but in trains it's, you know, you invest a whole lot of time into making that quote-unquote first draft. And then you don't really want to go back and do a second draft of an area. Unless there's a really good reason to. Alright, and we're going to fill in between the tracks with grass. And then all these areas that don't have anything going on. Sort of like Stacy's mom, although she does have it going on. Speaking of which, I'm going to go see Postmodern Jukebox live, which is over in New Bedford. I was trying to go see them in Portland not so long ago, but I realized that was on like a Wednesday, and I can't do that. I can't go up there on a Wednesday night and then come back and go to work the next day. Because I have to get up for work at 6 o'clock. So it's not something that I would be able to do or that I would even want to do. I mean, I could do it, but it would not be an enjoyable experience. And plus, that's a 3-hour drive. I mean, that's really why it wouldn't be enjoyable. But it's a 3-hour drive. I can, you know, I'm going to this show in New Bedford instead, and that's a lot closer. It's like an hour away. So, and it's a Saturday, so it makes it that much better. Do not have to worry about it. So, all this is just going to be tons of grass splines. That's what we need to make life good. And then this green area is going to be the really thick grass splines that we've been using in the forest. Not like the shrubs, but the actual grass. Which I think are JV... Oh, well, these are JVC. They're all JVC. I wish I could just hide spline points for a second instead of going to driver to do it. It would allow me to see so much more and look at the area a lot better. Let's go back to olive and grab that. Now that I have all of my splines, once I grab these, there we go. Wait, no, that's 20 by 40. That's the small one. How about this? In here? Over there. Alright, take me back to Adam. Or not Adam. Mason's Landing. Okay. So we need to finish filling the grass in with grass. In the future, in the next iteration of trains, when we have... Uh-oh. What was that? When we have, I don't know what the hell that was. I'm confused. Anyway, sorry. Got distracted. Got a little buzz. Oh, god damn it, I know what it was. Oh, Jilly sent me a message over Google Plus for some reason. Yeah. Okay, so we have this. Continue building grass. And this is really all you need, I guess. If this looks good enough, then I'll be damned. Like, all I need to do for this area is just grass it, and maybe use different, like, shades of grass in different areas. But I can do the whole town like this, and I would not be opposed to it. I can just, have it be grass. And I would love to go and load up Driver and just see what it looks like, but I really don't want to. That's a time investment. And it's just, at that point, it's taunting the game, saying, you want to ruin my synchronization between my audio and video? Just try me. Just do it. Why not? Why not? Just do it. No, it's stupid. I'm not going to do that. I do not need to cause more trouble for myself. I didn't even really check if the synchronization was okay after last video. I just glanced at it, made sure that the audio and video were pretty much the same length, which normally you'll notice if it's not, it will stick out at you. And that means, yeah, it broke. You need to go in there and figure out if you need to sync it up. But I looked at it and then I poked around to the video and made sure that it, like, sounded right. And yeah, it does. It's okay. If there's ever a sync issue, not that it will lead me to fix it, but if there's ever a sync issue, at least point it out to me so that I will notice it. Like, minor stuff is fine, but if it's, if my audio is 10 seconds behind the video, clearly, or something like that, it's much more prevalent, or it's much more a problem on videos where, I have other people speaking. Because their audio is contained within the video file, and mine is not. So, it's not like all of our audio comes out of sync, it's like just my audio comes out of sync. And when that happens, then people will be talking over, like, I'll be talking over somebody, or somebody will be talking over me constantly, but it won't actually have happened, it will just sound like it, because the audio is not where it's supposed to be. I don't know, it gets real obnoxious. It's not great when that happens, which is why, obviously, I try to avoid it, and why I try to fix it when I notice that it has happened. There's grass inside the building? Just a little bit, don't worry. To ramp up your grass density as you go farther in. Just trying to be a little bit... I'm thinking a lot about like what to do with the edge of the road here. But all in all, I think it doesn't look half bad. But we do need to do it on this side. Yeah, sorry. Brain is working, but it's not like coming out. Again, that's the reason that I have the music, because I don't trust myself to be able to talk properly for this whole thing. And so that means when I need a breather, at least you guys have the music to listen to while I tool around the map or do whatever it is I'm doing. Which in this case was just thinking about, okay, what do I do next, and do I have enough time to start it? I've got less than 5 minutes, but this is some good progress on the area that's scenic in this town, and I feel like we will sort of see these techniques make a move on the rest of the town next time I work on it. Whenever that may be. And hopefully it looks as good on the large scale as it does on the small. Because I very much like how the grassed areas came out with the underlying grass and their edges, and just the fact that it's like, oh, these whole areas are just full of grass. Which is totally legit. That happens, you know? Especially if the soil is not, you know, like fertile enough for trees or whatever. Which we've got one right there. I probably will be scattering trees around. Just ones that I want to see. I'll look at, like, trees that typically tend to appear near the coast or whatever. And then we need our heavy grass, our thick grass. Okay. So, yeah, once we wrap this area up, we should be done with the episode. If I even have that much time. I'm hurrying now because I want to get this area done so I don't have to come back and finish this small amount of grass in the not-so-distant future or whenever I come back here. The fact that these grass lines don't have straight edges is really kind of a problem. I use them because they look good, but I don't like them because they are a pain like that. If you overlap a couple of them, especially in opposite directions, it gets better, but at no point does it get great. They look good enough to offset that, but only just. Especially like right here. I don't know, it's just frustrating. It's one of the few things that, like, it makes me want to use other grass splines, but there aren't too many options, too many good options. So I just stick with the JVC and hope that, you know, hope that it doesn't end up looking too bad, which for the most part it doesn't, especially if you vary up, like, their length and their orientation and stuff like that. If you just string them along, then they're gonna look bad. Like, if I just did that, and it was like, okay, that's good, we got grass now. That doesn't look good enough, though. So what you want to do is you want to, you know, go different directions with them. You want to have them, you know, not exactly parallel, that kind of thing. It's, you know, there's plenty that you can do to make your grass look good. Or gooder. There. Even this down here doesn't look great. There. Alright, so we will have to put more grass over here just to do the edge. But I think the fact that we now have this whole area between the two roads, well, almost scenic-ish, is an accomplishment. So, Mason's Landing is coming along. And we are not that far from, well, the summit, and not that far from the bridge either. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you next week. Trainman out.